Well. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Let's Debrief podcast. It fills my heart with so much joy to say those words. Wow, I missed you guys so much, and I'm super excited to bring the podcast back. If you follow me on Instagram, because I don't think I've posted anything related to this on the podcast, but if you follow me on Instagram, you see that I've gone through some little life updates, life changes, and the biggest one including I'm pregnant. And so I am currently, as of tomorrow, I am 18 weeks pregnant, and very, very excited about that. But we will get into all of that as far as just like life updates. So like where we left our characters, aka just myself, was back in April, I believe. Was that the last time that we uploaded a podcast? I believe so. Back in April. So, I mean, let's just go way back. If you are a longtime listener of the podcast, you know all of these things. But if you are just tuning in for the first time, you're like, how did this start? Why are there posts of you and somebody else on the Instagram? So I'll take you back to the beginning. Honestly, around this time 2 years ago, like coming up on 2 years probably, me and my best friend Jenna started this podcast together as a fun little side and like passion project for the two of us, and we really, really enjoyed it, had so much fun with it. And right after we decided to do the podcast, when we decided to do the podcast recently, Jenna had moved an hour away from me, and so this was a really good excuse for us to get together and hang out because we had to record. And we did that for over a year, like all the way into January. So we started in the fall of 2022, which was right after Cole and I had gotten married. We started doing like recording episodes, and then I don't think we launched until like maybe early 2023, I forget, but she was still pregnant with her first baby at the time. And so anyways, then we launched and did that for a little over a year before she became pregnant with her second baby. And then her first baby, Monty, as most of you know, was just really giving her a run for her money as it came to sleep. And her plate was just really full, especially like heading into weddings and everything, and then preparing for the second baby. So she decided to take a step back from the podcast and no longer do it. And so I decided to do it myself, and did that for about 2 months before I was like, dang, this is like hard to do by yourself. And honestly, I wasn't doing it by myself too. I don't know if any of you knew this, but one of my old youth students from like years ago at this point was editing reels for us. So that was super helpful for me and kind of relieved Cole for a little bit. But honestly, like every single episode, I just felt like I just felt like Wednesday came so fast, and I would have to record on like Monday or two. Well, I mean, I could have prepped early, but I feel like I was just catching my breath from the last episode. And so every episode just came around so quickly where I was like, I think I need to pause. I think I need a breather. And transparently looking back now, that was around the time that Cole and I were starting to talk and then also just like, okay, we're going to be like starting our family soon. And so I wanted to be able to give everything to that. Not like the podcast took so much from me, but I just wanted to give it my full dedication. And honestly, like part of who I am is if I don't feel like something's going the way I want it to and it's not being done to the best of its ability, it's like, okay, let's reassess. So yeah, I think I uploaded an episode in April just explaining like a brief hiatus on my end. And then I didn't know, honestly, if I would ever come back and do it, but in the last like few weeks I have just like felt like the surge, I guess is the only way I can put it, like, and just excitement around it again, and that made me really happy. And that's how I knew it was time to come back. And again, as of right now, I'm feeling good. I'm having a baby in January, so we'll see how things continue to progress and shift and everything. Who knows? My plan is to work far out in advance, and so podcast episodes upload seamlessly, and I would love to go until the end of the year and just kind of then reassess after that. After a baby, or our baby, not a baby. His name is Cohen. After he is here in January, and who knows what from there, but all I know is we're gonna soak up these, I guess it's the 8th month, so like these next 4 months together and just kind of see where it goes. I feel like there was something else I was gonna say, and that I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to take frequent water breaks. One, because I'm sitting in my hot room right now and I can't do the AC while I'm recording. So if you hear my little fan in the background, it's the best that I got. And I'm just thirsty 24/7 now, so give me a brief break right here. All right, so I'm trying to think of if any I asked you guys if you wanted to ask questions. I got plenty of questions that came in, so honestly, I'm going to spend a majority of the podcast talking about that, but I'm trying to think brief things that I can update you guys on off the top of my head. So like we said, the last we talked was in April. In May, actually the end of April is when we found out that I was pregnant. It was like the 29th or something, so very end of April. And we were supposed to go, you guys have heard me talk about this, you guys are probably going to be so annoyed with me because for the past 2 years I've talked about this trip, and for 2 years now I have canceled it. So we were supposed to go on this huge Pacific Northwest road trip. We spent time and money and like just searching out different places and everything, and I was super excited about it. But those first few weeks of being pregnant, I feel like, also for context, we had to go to Seattle, fly to Washington for a wedding for our friends, but we were shooting it and we were kind of picking up our trip after that. And the first day was supposed to be driving 10 hours from where we were in Washington, Olympic National Park, to the Redwoods. And the thought of doing that, I was just like, I want to die. I want to die. And so it was like a few days before we were supposed to go that we fully pulled the plug on everything, and I went and canceled everything. And obviously we still had to go for the wedding. And honestly, that being there for the wedding and that trip in general really made me feel like I was making the right decision, because I was already so exhausted. And I don't know, our trip was supposed to be to the Redwoods, to Monterey and Big Sur area, then into Yosemite, going back up to Seattle and flying out of there. And it was almost 2 weeks long, and I was just like, I don't think I have that in me. And it made me so sad, because I've been looking forward to and planning this trip for so long, and all of those things and all of those places excite me, and most of them are places I haven't been before, or I've passed through very briefly. And so I was very excited about checking off new places, but I just couldn't do it. And so we ended up, this kind of ties into some fun pregnancy stories, but we flew out to Seattle, drove to Olympic National Park, shot our friend's wedding. It was so fun and beautiful. And then the next morning after the wedding, we ended up driving back to Seattle. It's a 2-hour drive, and flying from there to California, because as we were canceling everything, we called my parents, who were coming back from Australia, because my sister moved there at the end of April. She graduated from Pitt, moved to Australia. That's a whole other thing. Maybe when she comes home for the holidays, I should have her on the podcast to talk about her Australia experience so far. But also, sorry if I'm huffing and puffing. It's hard to catch my breath. But, oh yeah, so we called my parents and we were like, hey, because they were going to be staying in California for a month or so. We're like, can we go use your house in Florida? And they were like, yeah, but we don't have, both of the keys are with us. It's not someone can let you in or anything like that. And so but they were going to be in California the next day. So we ended up flying from Seattle to California. We got really lucky, got really cheap Frontier tickets, so that was great. The only thing about this whole change of plans that really sucked was that we were dragging our photo and video gear with us the whole time. And so usually when we fly to Florida, we're backpackers and we'll make it work. But we had to keep paying for check bags because of all of our gear that was coming with us. So that was unfortunate. But yeah, we flew down to Ontario, California. My grandparents picked us up. We hung out with them for the night, and then we went and picked up my parents in the morning. So once we changed plans, we knew that we were going to tell them, like all of them, that we were pregnant. And that was, I felt like that was a period of time that was never going to end. Like, we were hanging out with my grandparents like the night before, and obviously I can't tell them before I tell my parents. And respectfully, Grandma, if you are listening, she is a terrible secret keeper. Not like I think she would have told my mom, like, before me, but I just know as soon as we saw my parents, she would have been like, well, are you going to tell them? And so we had to tell them together. And so, but we picked up my parents from LAX and had a whole day in LA before getting back to Riverside, where they live, which is like an hour and a half away. And when we got home, which I actually just posted everyone's reactions on my personal Instagram, so you can go see their reaction, because it was it was probably the best one, honestly, because my grandma had already been talking about becoming a great grandma like while we were there, and like she's brought it up a few times, and so then the fact that I was telling her, she was like freaking out. So we get back to their house, and I was like, oh, Mom, I got you a belated Mother's Day gift. I was able to bring it with me. And she was like, oh, okay. And like I ran upstairs and grabbed a pregnancy test and came back downstairs and just showed it to her, and she freaked. And my grandma jumped up and down and was also freaking out. And so that was really fun to hang out with them. And then they ended up taking us to the airport the next morning, and we flew to Florida for the week and just hung out there. Of course, did Disney, and I think that was about it. But ended up coming home a few days, like we still kind of stayed out our time, like that we would have been on the West Coast, Pacific Northwest area. Came home a few days early, and yeah, and just like chilled. And that's honestly like what I wanted to do. And like when Cole was actually the one that suggested changing plans and going to Florida, and I was like, okay, all right. And yeah, laying low, laying by the pool, going to parks like casually, and then leaving whenever we wanted was like what I wanted to do. And so it all worked out. Okay, water break. But yeah, honestly, since then, I think we came back from that trip, and well, also, wait, before that, we had I think it was just a lot because we had 2 traveling weddings in the same month. And so we were in the Outer Banks for a wedding, like actually, no, not even a couple, a week before. So that all, like, the back-to-back was just really stressing me out. And so then we came home and then got ready for Seattle, and we were going to be leaving on this, like, big trip. And I was like, I can't do it. And then we came back from that trip, and honestly, it's just been wedding central, which I love. I feel like we have gotten the best couples this year and been blessed with so many, like, gracious and amazing people that, like, really no complaints so far. We're almost halfway through our, like, weddings for this season and our weddings this year. So I just had a bride, like, reschedule her wedding with a date that I still had available. So my due date is January 7th, and my weddings will go all the way up to November 30th, which is not as close as Jenna has called it before, but I'm very interested to see myself 8 months pregnant shooting weddings and everything. So, but yeah, it's been really good. It's been chill. Like, we've had a few other trips, and on it we were supposed to go to Yellowstone like next week. Also canceled that because I was just like, I just love being home. And we are going. There is no canceling this whatsoever because I've worked way too hard on it and I really want to go. We are going to Europe in September, and so I need to save all my energy for that. And so we are at home base for the next 2 months or so. I get almost a month, I guess, at this point. We leave for Europe in mid-September, and we're gone for like 2 full weeks. And so saving all my energy for that, and I'm super excited just because our days are like spread out like in different places. Like, we get like 4 full days in Paris, 4 days in London, and same in Rome. And so I don't feel rushed to do stuff and then it's like on to the next thing. I'm excited that it's going to be like relatively chill and everything. And so, but yeah, and then after that we do have one more trip in November for a wedding where Cole's cousin is getting married in Colorado, and they asked us to shoot it for them. We said, of course. And so that's going to be in the Rockies, I believe. I think they're getting married in the national park. Um, and so, but then after that, Mama's staying put. That is like early November, and I have a lot of weddings after that, but we are home, and it's definitely way too early for nesting. Like, I don't feel that urge yet, but I just feel like I just love being home. Like, and I've gone through waves of that before because, like, I think when Cole and I got married and then, like, we made our house our own, like, I definitely felt that where I'm just like, oh, it's like just so cozy. And then after the first trimester, I was like during the first trimester, I was like, I never want to leave this place. This is the best place I've ever felt and experienced in my entire life. And then now, out of all of that, I'm like, I'll go out, but I want to come back home relatively quickly. So I'm super grateful that we have created a home that is so cozy and everything, and that I just love being in. So let's get into your guys' questions. I have 16 questions. I don't know if there are similarities or if there's double ups, but we will see. Okay, getting into it. What is your birth plan? So I'm going to be honest, I haven't thought about birth too much. It feels so far away, but especially almost being halfway there, I've like told myself, especially around 20 weeks, I'm like, we got to get serious. Like, we got to think these things through. And so I think for me, I feel like in a very like special position because I am friends with people that are older than me. Like, obviously I have friends that are younger than me, but like my deepest, like, closest relationships are all older than me. Like, I think in my wedding party, my sister was the only one that was younger than me. Like, everyone is like older than me, and so a lot of my friends have kids already and have had kids for years, and so I love like picking their brains and like stealing from their expertise. And honestly, like, even though this is my mom, everyone, if you've listened to her for a while, you know my mom was a young mom, and so I love like picking her brain and like also, yeah, just like hearing from her experience. And one thing I have really gathered is no birth is exactly the same, and you can do every single thing in the book and have everything right, like, I guess by like social standards, right, and or even by like hospital standards, and things still go awry. And I know some people are super passionate about this topic, and then everyone there's what the crunchy community has their opinions on, and then there's, I know, like, close friends who are nurses who are like, oh, you definitely need to do this. And so I honestly am like just all ears, like, on different opinions. I've let a lot of people speak into it, and I very much am like a person where I'm like, I'll hear people out, and then it's like, okay, well, like, I'm gonna make my own decision. And so as of right now, I think if everything was to be healthy and according to plan, I would love for my birth to look like, I am going to a hospital, Magee. I guess you didn't really need to know that, but it is a really great, like, women's hospital here in Pittsburgh. And so I plan on giving birth there. I would love to go unmedicated for a few reasons, but one of them being my mother-in-law actually, I guess maybe TMI? I don't think so. But she had one medicated birth and one unmedicated. And she said specifically the recovery was better with the unmedicated, and that she felt like the adrenaline that she had in her, she felt like she could run a mile afterwards, or like maybe even run a marathon. And so I just feel like I want to experience all of like the oxytocin and everything that comes with feeling everything you're supposed to feel in birth. And so that's really where that motivation comes from. Maybe prove something to myself. Truthfully, I haven't really had like any medical like experiences in my life, if that makes any sense. Like, I have just always been a really healthy kid. Like, I don't really get sick that often, never broken a bone, like never been hospitalized for anything. Like, genuinely the most, I guess, interesting thing that's happened to me is I got my wisdom teeth taken out. Like, nothing has ever really happened to me. I don't feel like I've ever experienced a ton of pain. And so I know that I'm opening myself up to this whole new world of pain and like and being hooked up to things that I'll just like never understand until I'm in it. And so I very much have that view where it's just very open-handed and chill. My demeanor is very chill. I hope that I carry that into birth, but I would love to go unmedicated. But I mean, I am open to an ibuprofen. If you follow Jenna on Instagram, she just posted about her second birth story with Silas, and she walked in, they medicated her. She said it was the best experience of her life. So, like, I've heard very positive from both sides. And so I'm kind of just, yeah, going in open-handed, and I would love to have freedom to move around the room, and like, I would love it to be a Zen experience, but who knows? I might be screaming my head off. I truly don't know. And so maybe in the next like few weeks, and as it gets closer, I would type out something, but at least that's like what I'm prioritizing right now is just, I'm gonna, a lot of people recommended the Christian hypnobirthing app, and so I'm gonna start listening to things on there. I think from every single woman that I've heard from is that like, if you can keep control of like your mind, then like you can do it. Everyone always says that, oh, sorry, I just need to take a deep breath. Everyone says that when you lose your, like, the control of your mind is when you really start to feel everything. And so I'm going to try to, train up my mind and do some exercises and prepare my body the best way I can. I'm definitely not going in and being like, oh, hope it works out. Like, I'll do the dates, I'll do the exercises and everything. And yeah, that's how I'm preparing. That's my hope. And come maybe end of January, I'll report back to you guys, but that's what I'm hoping for. Okay. Someone says, I'm so happy you're back. I have a secret confession that I'm dying to share. I'm actually 10 weeks pregnant right now. I want to hear from another young mom how to balance the scary excitement of your first pregnancy. I'm personally feeling super alone and scared, and I'm too nervous to admit to my family and be judged. Please let me feel a little less isolated and say what you're most excited for when baby Cohen comes. One second, let me get water before this one. Okay. Well, congratulations, first of all. And I think like crossing over into the double digits felt like such a like big thing for me, because like at least for us, like, so I don't know if someone asked this, like maybe I'll just save it then. But I knew like so early on, like when I wasn't even like 4 or 5 weeks pregnant. And so making it to 10, I was like, oh my gosh, finally, like I'm in the double digits. So congratulations. That is amazing. Let's see. Super alone and scared. So you also said, like, I want to hear from a young mom, which is so funny. There were multiple people that said, like, how do you feel about being a young mom? Which maybe I'll just address it now. I'm not offended by that whatsoever, just to give perspective, because I just think family dynamics are like just super funny and interesting sometimes. But in my family, I don't know for sure about my aunt, but at least between my grandma and my mom, I'm the youngest, or I'm the oldest someone has been to like have a baby. My grandma, I believe, had her first baby at 19, and then my mom had me at 17, had my sister at 19. So my mom was a mom of 2 at 19, like right before her 20th birthday. But I just think that's like crazy. And well, maybe I have it backwards. Either way, she was just like super young. I am currently 25. I'll be 26 when he's born. And so for our family, that is like geriatric, which is just like ridiculous, because yes, I'm very aware that that is young, but just know where I'm coming from when I kept seeing like, how does it feel to be a young mom? How does it feel like that you're so young? And I'm just like, I don't feel that young. But yeah, like, I mean, Cole and I, we were talking about, we got married quick, and we got married, I guess, like younger than like the society, like standards, I guess. And so like we got married at 22 and 23. And so yeah, we're gonna be like a young family, but we're gonna have hope. I mean, the plan is to have a few kids. I'm not trying to have kids until I'm 35. No judgment to anyone that does that. I just want to be settled by then. But things to make you feel less alone and scared. I'm assuming, since scared to admit it to your family. I have admitted everything to my mom. Like, I was just texting her the other night about about like parenting things, like discipline and stuff, where it's like we're so far away from that, but I was just like asking her tactics. I think that it's better to share those things with trusted people than keep them in, because especially since the beginning can be so scary. Like, I went to our first doctor's appointment, and she had this tiny little, it technically was an ultrasound thing, but it literally looked like a square, like how you can, like a square machine, like if you go to a coffee shop, you can just put your card up to it. Like, it just looked like that. I guess like a credit machine, but just that brand. And the tiniest little like ultrasound wand, and she showed me the baby and then like turned it away and was like over in 2 seconds. When I say that I went home that night and I sobbed my eyes out, because I was just like, I was 8 weeks and I was just like, but like, what if something goes wrong? And like, I didn't get a picture of it, I didn't get a video of it. Like, I was devastated. Like, and I think very quickly I shared, like, obviously Cole knew I was feeling all of those things, but very quickly I shared with Jenna, because I was just like, I am so scared. And actually Jenna shared, if you are a believer, if you have faith or anything, like, this definitely helped me. She shared this that another one of our friends shared with her, that I believe more in God's promises than I believe in miscarrying or something going wrong. And obviously things happen, like, that is not to negate things that have happened already, but I think faith has been super helpful for me, of just like, any time like any like doubt or fear has like crept in, I've quickly reminded myself, like, okay, like, God's got me. God has put this baby in my life. God has allowed this to happen, like, and blessed us with this. Like, he's going to be faithful to his promises. And just reminding myself. But I think that you do need to open up to someone close just to share, because I also, like, the minute I took the test a few days afterwards, I was like, I have made a life-altering decision. Like, if like everything goes according to plan and I carry this baby till the very end, like, now I have this little person I'm in charge of. Or if something does happen, I will forever be scarred by this, essentially. And yeah, just saying that, like, realizing that your life will never be the same, it's both terrifying and exciting, but mainly terrifying. You're just like, oh my gosh, all right, what did I just get myself into? But honestly, my mom, my friend Katie, Jenna, and Cole have all been people that I have leaned on through this entire experience, sometimes throwing different things at different people, sometimes texting all of them and being like, I need help, or I'm freaking out over this, is this normal, like, stuff like that. And so definitely find someone to lean on. And what am I most excited about? I don't know, just cuddling a little baby. Especially since he's gonna be a little winter baby. I'm so excited to cuddle him and exist in our bubble. We're very, like, excited with his timeline, that it's like gonna be January and that people are already going to be kind of hibernating, and so we're just excited to hibernate and not feel the pressure to leave at all, because we do, like, love hanging out with people and having people over, but I'm just really excited to chill and just exist inside of our bubble to begin. And then after that, just like watching him experience things for the first time. We went to Disney a couple weeks ago, and there were just little kids all around us that were like reacting to characters, reacting to fireworks and parades, and I was a mess. I could not keep it together, because I was just like, these are all, like, you can make fun of me all you want, I don't care, but I was like, these are things that were so, like, pivotal in my life and just like core memories. Like, I can remember, like, the first time, like, some of like the first few times seeing princesses or doing like certain activities at Disney, and so to know that I'll be able to do that with him is like so exciting to me, and I don't know, just very, very sweet. So all right, that was a very long answer. Hopefully all of that is helpful. Okay. Were you hoping for a boy or a baby girl? I'm so glad you asked. Well, so I, like, if maybe for most of you that know, I only grew up with a sister, and I have boy cousins, and then I have like an uncle who is only a few years older than me. So like I grew up around boys, but like not in my house at all. My dad was like the only boy in our house. And so when I've thought of having kids, it's always just been a little girl in my mind. And I've always been open to boys, but I've just always thought it would be like a little girl. And so we ended up doing an 8-week gender blood test, and it kind of all happened so fast. Like I knew that I wanted to do the blood test, and so I called them one day, and I was like, because they like can only do it on Wednesdays, and I was like, oh, I'm just calling to see like when your next appointment is, like for next Wednesday, or even after that. And they were like, oh, well, what about 2:30 today? And I was like, oh, okay. And like was just like, okay, this is happening. And so did the whole shebang, and then the next day we get the results. And this video will never see the light of day, 1,000% not. But I had no idea what to expect, because in my mind it's just always been a girl. And so when we like looked at the results, I just was like, no way, a boy. That's crazy. And like I don't know, people get so judged for like gender disappointment, and it definitely felt like that in like the moment where it was just like, this is just all I've ever known. And like I don't know, like, but it also was at the same time like deep down like the cliche of like, I just want a healthy baby. Like I don't care, because I just want this baby to be healthy. But I was just honestly very surprised, because on my side all I knew is we only have girls, like just me and my sister. And it took about 24 hours for that feeling to wear off, where like the next day we got up and we made a date out of going and like getting little boy onesies and shopping in the boys section, and just like picking out some stuff like for him, where I was like, oh, okay, like this wasn't what I was anticipating, but like this is still going to be really exciting. And I actually texted some close mom friends of mine and just said, you have a great relationship with your son, like tell me about your like about having a boy. And some of them were like, oh my gosh, like my relationship with my son is like so different from my daughter's, something like I would have never anticipated. And so like that again quickly made me be like, oh, okay, it's just different like than what I imagined and what I've experienced, but it's gonna be great. And so honestly, you can judge me for that. It's just totally fine. But yeah, I don't know. Now that time has passed, I'm like, oh my gosh, like having a little boy is going to be so awesome, and I'm super pumped about it. And also Cole said at one point too, he's like, just imagine it's a little me. And his mom has talked about how sweet and kind and like amazing he was as a little boy. And so I'm like, oh, okay, if it's just a little Cole, I'll be fine with that. How have you been feeling since taking a break from the pod? Great. Like I said in the beginning, I was very stressed out, like having to produce episodes like solo, and like as dumb as it sounds, like think up the concept and then put out the form for people to reach out to, and or like to respond to with stories, and then asking my friends and then coordinating with my friends to come on. Like it was just a lot that I felt like I didn't have time for. I knew I didn't have time for going forward. Maybe I did in the moment, but I was like, oh my gosh, things are about to get so crazy. Like there's no way I'm going to plan like for while we're on different trips and stuff. So let's just take a little summer break. And when I took a hiatus, honestly, part of me was probably like, I'm just going to say it's a brief hiatus and a little vacation, but I'm probably done for good. But then, you know, I'm glad I didn't, because 2 weeks ago I was like, no, let's do it. I'm feeling it. So I've been feeling great, and there's absolutely no way in heck I would have been able to do it through the first trimester, which was honest. I don't know if anybody asked any questions about this, but very brief. First trimester was hard, but I don't think I had it nearly as bad as other people do. I know people that are not able to leave the bathroom, leave the couch, can't get anything down, and that wasn't it for me. I was just very surprised at how the cravings and the aversions came on so quickly. and they all did like right before we went to Seattle, and so that's also why I was like, I definitely can't go on this trip. But yeah, and then around that was probably honestly from like week 8, that the worst was definitely week 8 to week 12. It definitely was like revving up 6 and 7, but like it was full blown 4 weeks, couldn't look at food. And obviously if you've listened to the podcast, you know how much I love cooking and baking and just like being in the kitchen and trying new things. Nope. didn't pick up a utensil for weeks. And like also like shout out to Cole, like he was just, I mean he still is, but was just my hero and my savior through that time. And I just told him, I was like, I need you to make meals, and he was like, yeah, of course, I got you. And so he did everything for me. So I'm just so thankful for him. And like I always knew, like I already knew that like he I was gonna say he was perfect. I mean, he kind of is some days. I just always knew that he was the right person I married. Like I knew I was marrying the right person. And now to have like the dad of my father of my child be him, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like Cohen's gonna be so lucky. Like we're together so lucky. And so yeah, he really carried the entire weight of this family on his back for like 8 weeks. So, and continues to. But yeah, when did you know you were ready for kids / ready to start trying? Again, honestly, all of our friends are older. Well, not all, I guess, but we have some friends that are in like our age group. Obviously, Jen and Tan had like we're having their second kid now, have their second kid. And so we knew that we had already had weddings like booked for this fall. And I think if it wasn't for that, or actually we knew that we had a pretty full schedule. We knew that there was like some things we wanted to accomplish. And so we had, and like it would have been a little chaotic to bring a baby into, but honestly, Europe was a big one for us. Like we wanted to go do that. And we always said we would like either start trying. I think for Cole, he said we would start trying at 2 years. And then honestly, like you've heard me talk about her before. I think Farah like really like made, not like I was like pushing for it. I was like, okay, whatever, we'll see. But I think Farah changed both of our minds, because her hanging out with us every Tuesday was like such a gift. And we like adored, but we still adore her. And so hanging out with her and Ellie, and then also being around Jen, Tan, and Monty, we were just like, okay, no, like we want this too. And so I feel like in the fall, like fall of last year, we were like, all right, like we have some weddings into November for the next year. And so maybe start like trying in like March, and to like set us up for like a December baby. And even then Cole was a little hesitant on December, because like, at least in my family, December is very chaotic with birthdays already. And then obviously you throw in Christmas and everything. And so we tried for 2 months. Well, on the second month we got pregnant. But yeah, we started trying in March, and then got pregnant in April and found out at the end of April. And I think we both were a little sad, like I don't know. I just feel like anyone, like if you're hoping for that to receive like your first negative, you just jump to 1,000 different conclusions in your mind. You're like, okay, is this going to be every month? Is this just a fluke? What happened? Like, what did I do wrong? And like, just, the wonderful parts of womanhood. But yeah, I think that it was really, really the right timing for us. And it would have been very stressful, like if March had worked out. And so, even so, like our due date is so early in January that like if that had been December 7th, it would have been a little stressful. It would have been a little tight. And so we're happy with that. But yeah, I think as far as like how did we know we were ready is just seeing our friends around us, and we both like have great jobs. I mean, multiple jobs. We have a great support system between our friends and both of our parents, but then also like his parents like living near us, where we knew that they could watch him for wedding days and everything. And so I think that we just felt like it wasn't like for us at least, it wasn't like our bank account had to get to this number, like even like that we had to accomplish these many things. It was just like, no, this feels right, and like the timing feels right and everything, and based off of our timelines of like how many kids we want, we were like, yeah, this feels great. So I don't know, I guess just it felt right. Have you always wanted kids at a young age? Yes, because my mom was so young. My mom now, which if I get this wrong, Mom, I do apologize. I'm pretty sure she is 44 right now, turning 45 in December. So, and like obviously I already said her age when she had us. Like, she was a mom of 2 at 19. And if you listen to her podcast on here before, my sister had cancer when she was 4. So when my mom was my age, she had a 6 and a 4-year-old, and the 4-year-old had cancer. And so just like, again, completely different lifestyles, but I like knew, like I was getting like, which some of you might judge me, but I did want to be a young mom so bad because but I was stressing out when I hadn't met Cole, like, and I hadn't met my husband until I was 22. Like, we had met, but like we didn't start dating until I was 22. And I was like, oh, if like, I mean, if you would have asked high school Ashley, at least, like, I would have wanted kids by 20 or 21, just because I was a nanny, so I was always around kids anyways, and I loved it so much. So if I had a husband, I probably would have had kids a lot sooner, honestly. But I think the 2-year timeline for us, like being married 2 years, has been really blissful. And I think that both of us were just kind of like, all right, yeah, like this makes sense. And yeah. Okay. Give us the whole pregnancy story. How did you decide it was time to start trying? Any tips, things that you did? So excited for you. Thank you. I feel like I kind of just gave it, like, I think I kind of started to stress out. It was like in January or February, because I feel like I got on pregnancy TikTok, or like trying to conceive TikTok, which honestly can be helpful, but then like can be scary. Like at times it's a lot of information. But I think I went in January. I was doing prenatal research, and I kind of started to freak out because they said, oh, you should be taking a prenatal at least 3 months before you start trying to conceive. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we want to start in like the next like month or two. Like, I'm freaking out. Like, what if I don't have enough nutrients to support my body? And like, so that was like the first, well, like if you followed the podcast for a while, you know that like I have tried to have like a healthy lifestyle, like minimal, like clean foods, and our household is big in like more, I guess, like of an ancestral diet. Like we eat a lot of meat, and occasionally drink raw milk, and a big thing is like supplementing with like beef liver that has like a ton of vitamins and nutrients in it. And so there is a company, Perfect Supplements is what it's called, that makes powders and capsules of beef liver. Or you could just eat it straight, which is definitely cheaper, but a lot of people really struggle with the taste. Or there is even like ground beef packages that have beef organs like mixed into it, so it helps you get like those extra vitamins without having to like swallow them yourself, I guess, or like just eat the liver raw. So yeah, I guess like health-wise things that I was already doing were like those things. And then in maybe January or February, I started prenatals. Some trusted people I follow on Instagram had suggested them, and I went and did like research, because again, like I'm sure there's like a lot of good like different prenatals out there. There also are some bad ones that have like a bunch. I mean, bad is so relative, I guess. Like just some prenatals that have some extra additive things that don't need to be there. And so, excuse me. Let me get some water. And so I wanted to find a trusted brand, third-party tested, that was going to go along basically with my like lifestyle already. And so found WeNatal, and it is on the pricier end, and I just have like a monthly subscription to it. It is on the pricier end of supplements. For me, it's worth it, but if you can't afford it, there are like plenty of great options like out there. I just really like this brand. It comes in like, well, it comes in like a pack, and you take 3 capsules a day. And in the midst of my first trimester, when I had one awful experience where the pills came back up, and after that, I would just break them, like, cause they like are just like veggie capsules that come apart. I would just put them in smoothies, and that really, really helped me. Like, I loved being able to do that and get the nutrients still, but not have to taste them or swallow them. And so that was really nice. But yeah, check them out. Maybe if I can remember, I'll put the link in the show notes. And then any tips? I mean, yeah, outside of that, I guess, I don't know if this is TMI. A lot of people say that, oh, like if you just have like sex within the ovulation window, like you'll be fine. It wasn't like that for us. Like, at least for us, it was like, I mean, obviously the second time around when it worked, it was like on the day of ovulation, like your peak ovulation. And so that at least was a difference for us. Which kind of goes into the next one. Did you use ovulation tests or anything to try to get pregnant? I did like buy a few ovulation tests, but my cycle has been regular since the day I started having a cycle. And so like I knew like when I would be ovulating. And so I feel like maybe I could have like done without tests altogether because my body was so regular and I knew my body so well. But I did do tests, and when I felt like they were darker and it had peaked, which I kind of just used them to confirm what my apps were already telling me of, like, today's your peak ovulation. Pee on the stick and be like, yep, looks like it. All right. Like, so yeah, I wasn't like super, super intense like with it because I didn't want to stress ourselves out. And then the first month I was just like, oh yeah, they say like, if you do it like the day before, like peak ovulation, like, because I think the sperm can live in the body for like 5 days or something. I was like, oh, it should be fine. And then it didn't work. And so then I was like, all right, well, maybe we should just do it day of ovulation next time. And then it worked. So I know it's not anywhere seamless like that for everyone, but that is just at least how it was for us. Where are you going on your baby moon? Europe. We are going, you might have heard me talk about this before. We are going to London, Paris, possibly Amsterdam. We might add that. We're not 100% sure. And Rome. In the middle of September to like the beginning of October. And that's like both anniversary, like our 2nd year anniversary, and baby moon. And I'm so excited. My mom said, who's the coolest person that you know? Clearly it's her. And she acknowledged herself. She said, it's me, Britannia, which is what I call her. How many kids do you and Cole want? And about how much of an age gap between would you like? I know sometimes it's out of your control and all in God's timing, but do you have a particular preference? So as of now, we've talked about having 3 kids. I just think 3 is like a fun number. We each have 2 siblings, who obviously like we like, but I'm just like, but I feel like a 3rd like would really mix things up a little bit. And so we've talked about 3, and I think age gap wise, I like my sister and I's age gap, and then Cole and his brother aren't like super different from this either. But my sister and I are 2 years and 2 weeks apart. So like very, very close, like to almost 2 years. And so yeah, then what does that put it at? Like you get pregnant at like, 16 months. Like when the first kid's 16 months, I think, oh gosh, maybe 15. But yeah, 15 months. That feels about right. So I feel like I would like that age gap. I just feel like a 2-year-old, I don't know, it would be like, maybe they would comprehend more. It would be easier to explain, and then it wouldn't be by the time that baby's born, it wouldn't be too long in the 2 under 2. No shade against the 2 under 2. No shade whatsoever, because you are God's bravest heroes. God's bravest soldiers, truly. But yeah, at the same time, who knows? I could have a traumatic birth and never want to do that again, or need 5 years to recover. So holding things very open-handed. I don't even know what the age gap would be like after the second, but that's just at least what we talked about for the second. And then just kind of feeling it life out from there. But if you couldn't put it together, I'm a very go with the flow person. And so we'll see. I could see it going either way, where I have him and I'm like, what's that TikTok sound? Oh gosh, it's like, I need something immediately. Oh, yep. Where he like says a number. It's like Sal from Impractical Jokers or something. Anyways, it's like 10 more immediately. Okay. How are you prepping to become a parent? Well, as an older sister, I've been a parent for about 25 years now, which is kind of a joke, but then also not. But I don't know, the word parent like sounds so official, where I'm like, I'm not going to be disciplining him for a while. Maybe I'll just be honest. I don't think I'm specifically preparing to become a parent at all. I'm preparing for survival is what I'm preparing for, and holding plans loosely and open-handedly. I think, and I know this doesn't even compare, but I feel like it does give me a little bit of expertise. I was a nanny for so long. I mean, I had been babysitting since I was like 16 years old, and then an au pair for a family forever, and then which is just a live-in nanny to 3 boys. And so that, and also that gave me traveling with the baby expertise, and like, so I just feel like I've picked up some life skills and like parenting skills, I guess, along the way. And I mean, honestly, like my parents, like, and my in-laws, honestly, we're just so lucky to have great parents on both sides, like, are such great examples. They're both so chill and like very much like the type of parent roles that's like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And so I think that really leaning on them and us like taking different tidbits from our childhoods and what we've experienced, we're definitely carrying that into parenting. We're both very lucky that we had very happy, healthy homes growing up, and so we're definitely taking, and I will probably be calling my mom and mother-in-law constantly with like different questions, but yeah, I don't know. I think also being like in, at least for us, it could be any community for you, but at least for us, being in a church community has already like been so fruitful for our lives in so many different ways. But I know they will be supporting us come like parenthood and come like bringing Cohen into the world. And so I think that maybe because of those reasons, I'm not scared or nervous like whatsoever. I'm just like, yep, we'll have everything we need. We'll like, and I don't know, I just feel like we're very lucky to have the people in our lives that we do. Like I know that people will be showing up, dropping things at our doorstep, and I know our fridge will be overflowing with food. And so I'm just like, my plan to become a parent is just try to soak in every single moment, and probably, yeah, like I say that now, and like try not to wish away like different things. Like I know the newborn stage is going to be endlessly challenging, but I don't want to wish it away because they're so little. And like, but I also see Farah, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love Farah so much, and like I love hanging out with her and seeing her little personality develop, and I can't wait for Cohen to be that. But then I also don't want to wish away him being so tiny and cuddly and chunky. I don't know why I feel like he's going to be chunky. And so, yeah, I don't know. How are you preparing to become a parent? I guess that's how. Just asking other people. Okay. Kind of the same question, but circling back, just curious, or just genuinely curious, when did you know you were ready for kids? Kind of already answered that. We were the same age, married for the same amount of time, and want kids, but are stuck in the financials of it, and not being in our dream home, and not having having everything absolutely perfect. Did you deal with this? I'm so sorry that I can't be more encouraging on this, but no. I definitely am very, very much a person. If you ever have done like the Strength Finders test and whatever, like you can do different personality tests, but like Strength Finders is more of like within your job or like a team or whatever. My number one strength is adaptability. And so that very much contributes to this like side of me where if we would have gotten like unexpectedly pregnant after like 2 months of marriage, I probably would have gone through a little bit of a grieving process of what I thought life was going to be. But then after a couple, maybe a week or so, I'd be like, all right, how are we like adjusting? Like I very much pivot to a plan. And so, I mean, granted, this is something that we planned out, but yeah, like, I mean, transparently, we live in a house that my parents own and we pay them rent. It's a great functioning house. Would I love to be in our own house? Like, yeah, probably, but I don't know. I'm just like, I very much am not a person that waits for everything to be perfect because I want the joy of having a child now. And that's no judgment to you. I know that is like a personality thing for me, and that is very, 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 very common for a lot of different people, that they feel like they can't, move on to the next thing until X, Y, and Z. And honestly, I know that that's very common for like some men as well. And I think it's definitely like them feeling the pressure, like need to provide. Like if it's like, I'm not ready to move on to that because X, Y, and Z will have to happen in my life. So I know that sometimes like men have hesitations with that, but for both of us, we're very much just like, we'll just figure it out. And yeah, I mean, I feel like that's just our approach to life and parenting in general. But yeah, we did not experience that, but I do feel for you, and I know that you are not alone in those feelings. Is Jenna going to come back and talk about her birth and the new baby? I'm happy to report she has agreed, and I don't know if I have a date that we're going to record, but within the next few weeks. And also, I didn't even address that I wasn't doing video right now. You know, we're slowly easing back into it, and Cole is a very busy man right now, so I wasn't trying to add more to his plate, and frankly, just doing audio is just so much easier. And right now I'm sitting in my disastrous bedroom with a microphone attached to my nightstand in my PJs. So sometimes that's just the nature of it. But because I said like I would probably only be doing audio for the beginning, Jenna was like, oh, we can do like a call then anytime. Like we could do like a Zoom call or whatever. And so who knows, we might go out there in the next few weeks and we could record then. But I don't have a date or like an ETA, but she has agreed to come on and share how she's adjusting to 2 under 2 and what life is like. So be on the lookout for that. Okay. Okay. So glad the pod is back. This might be the second to last one. Can you talk about your body image? Talk a little bit about body image and pregnancy. I've struggled with body image for as long as I can remember, and part of me is scared to get pregnant simply because I'm scared of gaining weight. Much love to you and your growing family. This is a great question. I actually love this question. So I was this is like, I've actually never talked about this before. But I don't know the best way to say this, but I'll just go for it. I gained weight after Cole and I got together. Like I was very, like, I mean, to be fair, I had dietary restrictions on myself. Like I was gluten and dairy free because I had noticed it improved like parts of my life and I really enjoyed it. And then on top of that, I was working out like 5 times a week. And so I was in the best shape of my life. And then I met Cole. And that is not anything, like, it's not a slight on him. He didn't change like that, anything about me. Just like as we got together, like I was like, oh, I don't need to make that gluten free. Oh, like I don't need to go to Pure Barre. I just want to hang out with you. Like, so like your lifestyle shifts. And so since getting married, I've gained weight, and that has been like kind of hard to grapple with at different times. But then I don't know, it's just really been a season thing for me. I'll go in and out of it, of being like really like bogged down by it, and then other times being like, I'm so grateful for the body that I have. I'm so grateful that my body gets to do this and like X, Y, and Z. And on if this actually gives you any encouragement, I would absolutely love that, because since getting pregnant, like, I feel like it's almost been a free pass where I'm like, I don't have to stress about gaining weight because it's literally just going to happen. Like, and it's going to be beautiful. And like, I think also now getting pregnant, like, has made me look back on the times that I've been harder on myself and been like, wow, like your body was preparing to be a home, like, for this baby. Your body has been preparing. And like, because I don't have like I mean, I did in that first trimester. I was going to say, because I don't have like what I deem as like an unhealthy lifestyle where we were eating. That was honestly what was so frustrating, is like, I was like, I'm eating all of the right things and like, I'm trying to like get exercise in. And Cole has just reminded me, like, when I was this picture perfect version of myself, like, to myself, that like I was in my early 20s. And he's like, a lot, like, it's just so common in your mid 20s to like, your metabolism slows down, like things just start shifting and changing, and we haven't experienced that type of change since like puberty. And so it's like things are adjusting and we're pivoting. And so I have like tried to pivot lifestyle like choices around like all of those things, but I feel like I really was like fully free of that like mentality once like I got pregnant, because I was just like, wow, okay, like maybe my body, maybe I was unhealthy before, who knows, maybe I needed to gain weight, maybe I needed the strength like for this season. And so it really has been a good reframing for me, at least, and kind of a release from like worrying about if I'm going to gain weight or feel chubbier or like whatever, because I'm just like, well, I am because I'm growing a freaking human, and it's okay and it's encouraged. I should be gaining weight. And so I hope that's helpful, because I completely understand. And I felt like when we started to like know that we wanted to try, I like really needed to free myself from those feelings, because I was like, I mean, there's this guy that goes to our church and who's also like a good friend of ours, but he is like a, oh my gosh, what is it technically called? Like a, oh my gosh, like a natural medicine doctor, like whatever. But his whole shtick is like food is healing. But he always says like, you can't heal a body that you hate. And I couldn't agree with that more. Like, if you literally just hate working out and just like trying to run your body into the ground, like, your body holds on to those emotions and those feelings, and I don't feel like you'll see the results that you want. It's like, I love the idea, or like the framework that you tell yourself of like, I get to move my body today, not like, oh my gosh, I gotta go to the gym. It's like, I'm so thankful that like my legs work. I'm so thankful I can lift this weight. Like, and it sounds so elementary, but it's like so true. Like, every time that I would get like annoyed about working out, it's like, oh my gosh, how amazing is it that I can get my heart rate up and sweat, like, and do all of these things. And so, and like, we all know, once you finish the workout routine, it feels so good. Those endorphins kick in and it feels good. And so I've tried to stay like active relatively as I start to feel better throughout my pregnancy. And I mean, honestly, just my lifestyle at these like in these days, I feel like is activity enough. But I love like working out. I love a workout schedule and routine and stuff. And so I would love to carry that into the rest of my pregnancy, into postpartum. And I've also even shared with Cole that I would love to have someone kind of guide me postpartum on like the types of foods that I should be eating for kind of like a reset, because I feel like I've done my own research, but I would love to get like actual advice, like from a professional that I trust and everything. And so, as a little push present to myself, just kind of making sure I'm nourishing my body the best way possible to provide for Cohen and ultimately like show up for my family. And so hopefully that's helpful. Said, how can we pray for you? Will be the last one. I'm sure everyone wants to ask random questions, but I want to know how to pray for you. Let me know. Jesus loves you always. Wow. So cute. I love that. And it's such a good one to end on. Honestly, kind of going off of what I just said, pray for like strength in my body. Being like, I'm not even like that, like wide, I guess, yet. But just, there's just so many things already I like didn't expect about pregnancy, and especially being pregnant over the summertime. My body is so hot and just a sausage 24/7. I feel like my fingers are swelling as we speak. And so just strength through the rest of the pregnancy, honestly, because and it'll only get more chaotic. We almost have, like, starting in October, we have weddings like every single weekend, and then sporadically throughout September. And so yeah, I bought hokas to accommodate the long days. So if you see me at weddings wearing hokas, you know why, because I need to support myself. But yeah, I think just continued strength and in my body to then support him and bring him into the world. That would mean the world. But yeah, all right. We are all caught up. If you have any other questions, please feel free to DM me, as hopefully this this episode communicates. I really am an open book, and you can ask me anything. I feel like not a lot is off the table for me. And so DM me, DM the podcast. I'm so excited to be back, and I do have fun plans of episodes coming up with friends, and also just like with fun topics, and I'm just super excited to go in through the rest of the year with you all. And yeah, all right, I love you so much. Have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.